wanted to leave, and I remember telling people when I left my career as a journalist that I wanted to participate in history or events instead of just covering events, and I have, but I never expected to be a part of history as I am now, and it's been the most remarkable journey I've ever had to be a part of, or at least to have my opinions or my knowledge listened to, and I'm just very grateful. I'm grateful to Madison, Wisconsin, and I'll tell you why. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Madison and you folks. And this is going to be somewhat of a commercial for the Center for Media and Democracy. As I was trying to figure out whether I should do what I'm doing now, it was a very, very scary thing. And I didn't know, I didn't think I could do this on my own, and I'm not doing it on my own. There are a lot of people who are helping me, and the people are at the Center for Media and Democracy. John Stauber, who is the founder of it, Lisa Graves, who's now the executive director. Please stand up, because you guys... They have really made this possible for me to do this. And I'm a senior fellow on health policy at the Center for Media and Democracy. I'm not a resident here, but I'd love to live in Madison after being here for a while. I still work in Philadelphia and live there, where I had moved to with my last employer, CIGNA. Earlier at dinner this evening, I was fortunate to sit next to Jim Hightower, and he asked me how it was that how I got to be at CIGNA, the job that I had, and I had to remember it. I don't know. I just, honestly, it was, one day a few years ago, this literally happened. I looked in the mirror and I said, "Who are you and how did this happen to you?" Because I never set out in my career to be the chief spokesman or head of corporate communications for a big corporation, but it was almost like being the frog that you put in water and the heat's turned up, and you get used to the lifestyle, and it's hard to get out of that lifestyle. But when I said earlier about being maybe a radical, I really was. When I was in college, I was lucky to be editor of my student newspaper, and this was back in the 70s. It was during the Vietnam War, and it was a wonderful time to be editor of a student newspaper, and I was able to express opinions about the war and a lot of issues. And I was pretty radical at that time. I don't look like I was. I had a lot of hair. It was curly, and actually in Tennessee there's a lot of humidity, so I really had an afro. I wish I had it again. But I have always, in my heart, been a progressive. But something happened along the way. As I said, I wanted to participate in events, but I just started thinking about my career, and I wanted to advance in my career and see how far I might be able to go. And I was lucky in my journalism career to be able to cover Congress and the White House at an early age, and then to be in a PR career that eventually took me to one of the best jobs in the country, at least in terms of being paid for it. But I think the reason, you may have heard, and if you watched the Bill Moyers show, you may have heard me relate the story about going to the remote area medical expedition in Wise County, Virginia. And I, honest to God, don't know why I did that, but it's changed my life forever. I was visiting my mom and dad, who I'm still blessed to still have, and they still live in Tennessee. And I was visiting them, and I just picked up the paper and read a story about this event in Wise County. Wise is in the southern Appalachian part of Virginia, that little part of Virginia that sticks out to the west, and it borders Kentucky and West Virginia and Tennessee. The poorest part of the state, and where the mountains have been ravaged by mines and strip mining. A lot of folks there are unemployed or poor. So it's an obvious place for an organization like Remote Area Medical to have an event. And they did. Honestly, I don't know why I just felt compelled to go there, but it was, when I walked through the fairground gates, it was just the most surprising thing of my life to see people who were lined up by the hundreds to get free care. because they couldn't afford it otherwise. And I found out later that a lot of those people were insured because of the kinds of policies they were in. They still couldn't afford to get care. And that had an effect on me that might not have affected some other people had it not been for the fact that I grew up not too far from there. And I realized a lot of those people could have been relatives of mine or neighbors of mine. So just a few weeks later, though, I knew then that I needed to change my career. I didn't know where to go. When you're in a job, as many of you know, you have car payments and house payments. You've got kids in school, so it's really hard to make a radical change. But I realized that what I was doing for a living was not honorable. It was not what I wanted to do. But it took me a while to process what I had seen, and just a few weeks later, I was back in the job and was flying on the corporate jet, and I was served by the flight attendant, who was an employee of the company, on gold-rimmed china, and was given gold-plated flatware to eat my lunch with. That it occurred to me, somebody's premiums were paying for this, and for me to fly around the country. And it was something that I remembered those people in Wise County, and the people that were standing in line to get care in animal stalls. And it was just a few weeks after that I decided to leave the company. And it's been the most remarkable journey. I guess I'll just end with this. If you are ever in a position that you think that you're not where you should be, I hope that you will listen to your conscience and to your heart. And it's scary to make a big change. If I felt for years that I was on this planet for some reason, I now think that's probably just ego, and I think we all we think that. But I had always felt driven or called. I'm a Southern Baptist, and I was raised that way anyway. And my mom always was hoping I'd be a preacher. And she said, maybe you have a calling to be a preacher. I know I don't have a calling to be a preacher, but I think this is my calling. I think I had to be where I was for 20 years, to know what I know now, to have an insider's perspective into how the health insurance industry operates, how it's beholden to Wall Street, and what has happened to our healthcare system as a consequence of the greed that is pervasive in our health insurance system because of the way it has changed over the last 15 years to be, converting to for-profit status and be beholden to the Wall Street investors. And I saw it happen, and I finally realized, thanks to Wise County, Virginia, that what I was doing for a living was wrong, and I was working on the wrong team. And I encourage you all, if you ever get to a crossroads like I did, don't be afraid. Too many people are really afraid to make a move for fear of what might happen. That almost kept me from making the decision that I did. It's hard, but it's rewarding to finally be able to sleep at night and to know what you're doing might make a difference in someone's life. So thank you very much for having me.